All right, good morning, everyone, and it's amazing having you all on this call, and thank you for joining. Congratulations to you all who made this session. You made it to this stage, right? We had an overwhelming number of applications, actually. What I mean overwhelming, it was actually overwhelming. But then about 300 of you made it to this class, and we are so happy and glad for you rather, for making it up to this stage. And in the light of that, we've been onboarded yesterday, and we've actually taken us to some of the learning modules we'll be going through. And for us this morning, the first learning session that we'll be discussing is the overview of Nigeria's national climate policy. If you haven't filled your pretest survey, please kindly fill it out, right? So that it's in the chat box. Kindly fill it out. It should be good to have your baseline on knowledge of what this topic that we're about to explore is all about. No penalty whatsoever. Is for evaluation purposes alone, please. So we already have our facilitator on the call, right? And I'm just going to read his bio just so that we'll be able to know that this is a young person like us doing amazing thing in his own field and is here to share from his wealth of knowledge and experience with us. His name is Rahim Olatunji Aminu, and Rahim is a doctoral researcher at the University of Reading, UK, with expertise in agri-food and environmental economics. He has received extensive training in Nigeria, China, and the United Kingdom. His ongoing PhD research at the University of Reading focuses on the impact of smallholder agricultural households' resilience to climate change-induced shocks and its implication on livelihood outcomes in Nigeria. Rahim has collaborated extensively with experts across different research domains, resulting in co-creating knowledge and publishing numerous peer-reviewed journal articles, conference proceedings, and seminars. If you're like me and you're excited to learn from Rahim, can you please drop your clap in the chat box, please? So if you are like me, so excited and happy to learn from Rahim, immediately he starts talking, right? We're going to actually close the pretest form. So if you're like me and you're happy, very, very happy about this session today, please drop the claps to give him that standing ovation. If you're standing or you're sitting, ovation. So please drop your claps in the chat box. Thank you so much. That's good to know. Over to you, Rahim. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we are looking forward to learn from you on the concept of the overview of Nigeria's climate policies. Over to you, Rahim.
Hi everyone, good morning. Can you hear me, please? Can someone confirm if you can hear me, please? Hello? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much. I'm being scared now that I'm seeing a lot of people on the call this morning. I hope I will meet your expectation, and please feel free if what I'm going to say, if you have learned it before, well, just take it as a refresher. If you have not heard some of the things I'm showing today, just take it as a learning opportunity. But we are all in the business together, and nobody's an island of knowledge. So if I say something that is right, please take it as something good. If you think I say something that is totally wrong, please pardon me. I'm also a human, and we are born to make a mistake. So, but I've been asked by the team of Nigerian Youth SDGs to come and speak to you guys about the overview of climate change, Nigerian climate change policy in Nigeria. I'm trying to, let me see if I'm allowed to share my screen. The host needs to allow me to share screen. My screen sharing is still disabled. If they can hear me, please. Can the host hear me, please?
Yes, yes, on it.
Mm, okay, all right. So as I was saying, well, I know many of us we know that we know what climate is, what climate change. So all those
Can you
terms
please
and
try now?
okay, let me retry now. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we are good to go. Um, please confirm if you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Well, that's not my real face that you are seeing here. This is my real face. If you can see the picture, this is not my real face. This real face is, is a face that you need to take picture and but this is my real face, so you can see the difference. This one is I'm not. I'm a young man, even though I've tried to have a beer, but it's not coming. So I've been asked to speak to about the topic overview of Nigerian climate policy. Um, my presentation is going to, I have about 6 or 7 items to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to speak about Nigerian profile. I'll give you a snapshot of Nigerian profile, the climate change impact on key sectors of Nigeria economy, then the national climate change policy responses to those sectors and what they are trying to do. Then do we even have any commitment to the world? I know many of us, we know COP24, COP15, COP26, and many others. This is part of the global climate agreement that Nigeria is also participating, that they signed on. And I'll give an overview of Nigerian climate policy. I think I've selected just three for this session because of time, if we are able to cover the whole three. Then we'll talk about the tools because I'm trying to follow the learning expectation from this session that was sent to me. So I came up with the tools and for adaptation planning, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. So in all, what are the key focus areas that the Nigerian climate policy is trying to address, and we'll have a conclusion and at the end of the day. So let me start by telling us a few things about Nigeria that we already know. The first thing is that Nigeria is a lower middle income country according to World Bank classification of income by country. By income, classification of country by income, we are a lower middle income country. And I think the only high income country in Africa is Seychelles, if I'm not mistaken. I think Seychelles is the only one in that high category. All the majority of us, we are here. And we've been the largest economy since 2021 after we did the rebasing of our economy to incorporate the likes of the telecom sector and other services oriented sector into our GDP, and we took over from South Africa since 2012. That was when Goodluck Jonathan was the president. We have our population is contentious because we don't really have a full figure of how many we have. But as of 2020, we are estimated to be around 206 million people in Nigeria. And I used to make a joke like if we have 200 million people in Nigeria, how many do we have abroad? So Nigerian population, definitely we are more than 250 million people across the world. And our annual population growth rate is about 2.5%, which it implies that our projected population will be 262 million and 401 million in 2030 and 2050 respectively. 50% of our current population lives in urban area, and we are ranked 158 out of 189 in terms of World Bank 2019 Human Capital Index. So if you see this figure and you think about climate change, then you will look at those of us that were not married yet, those of us that we are about to marry, that we are married and we are giving birth, that population, the children we are bringing will be added to that population. What are they going to face in 2030? What is going to be their experience like in 2050 if action is not taken right now? And that's the reason why I guess you guys are here, so that you know why you must take action about addressing the climate change. So still on Nigerian profile. So when we talk about Apologies if I'm not defining what is climate, what is weather, what is this. I hope we already are aware of that. But one of the major components of climate change that is driving climate change is, I mean, even when we have emission of CO2, we have emission of methane, we have the anthropogenic causes and the natural causes, what usually results into either there is increase in temperature and there is increase in rainfall pattern, which are major things that is causing it. So this chart, this figure one here, presents information about the Nigerian average monthly temperature and rainfall between 1961 and 2020. You see the Nigerian climate condition is defined by two seasons. We have the rainy season between April and September, and we have the dry season between December and March of every year. If you look at it from, I think some of the answer to the pretest question is that which month is the wettest month that we have in Nigeria? If you see this figure, you can see that August, the blue line is rainfall. So August is where we usually record the highest volume of rainfall, and the month of April is where we usually have the peak of temperature, the highest temperature that we experience. This, at least, this is an historical record from 1961 to 2020, which at least give us a better shape. Then aside that, Nigeria is ranked top 10 among the most vulnerable countries in the world with an average temperature of 27 degrees and rainfall volume of 151. 24% of the Nigerian population are living in a climate exposure area. When I mean climate exposure area, those living in riverine areas, places where they are prone to erosion, places where there's low adaptive capacities and stuff like that. And among these people that are experiencing that are prone to climate change, 80% of them are rural poor. So which also have implication on food. If 80% of our rural population are poor and I mean they are prone to climate change, what is going to be the outcome of their livelihood in terms of what they are going to produce for us to eat and stuff like that. Now, if it is estimated that about between 27 and 53 million people would definitely need to relocate from where they are, because by the time the current sea level that we have or water volume will increase by 0.5 meter, it's going to be a devastating result. So people need to move away. All the people living along the river and the coastal areas, all these places, they will definitely need to move. Now, this is concerning the last point here. If we fail to do anything now, it's going to cost Nigeria between $146 billion by 2050 if we fail to do something to address this climate change now. So that means that we still have about 25 years to rewrite this story, to revert all these decisions. Now, let me give you a valid and vivid example for you to know that climate change is real. Many of us, we know Lake Chad. When you see Nigerian map, that corner at the above Borno State, close to Chad, that is where we have the Lake Chad. The Lake Chad 40 years ago is about 40,000 kilometers square kilometer. But today, Lake Chad is shrinking to the level of 1,300 square kilometer in size. You can imagine a place where it's filled with water that you can't get now. It has shrunk between 40 years, from 40,000 to 1,000. So this is telling us that climate change is real. So having said that, the last part, this table, I took this table from one of the World Bank publication, and what I want to show us here is the if you look at the drought incident, this is between 1900 and 2020, is an historical data also. We don't really have much drought problem. Event happens one, and it affected over 3 million people, leading to about $71 million loss in value of this thing. But if you come to check flood, we've had flood incidents, riverine flood 28 times, leading to over 1,000 people died and affected 10 million people, resulting to over $600 million worth of investment or business opportunities that were lost. So this is telling us that if we don't address this thing, they will say that you can only plant tree twice. Either you plant tree 10 years ago or you plant it now. If those people that came before us, they've not been able to address this issue in the past, we that we are energetic, the young, vibrant mind, the young Nigerians who knows what they want, who have all the tools, who have the ability to think beyond the frequency of our forefathers, we have the responsibility to put this thing into proper place by reverting all these statistics. I'm aware that many of us, this cohort, we came from different states in Nigeria, the Enugu, Oyo, Abuja, Lagos, and so. So I don't know if you guys are aware, you are aware of what we call show your stripe. Show your stripe. So the stripe is telling us this is stripe. This was it was invented by one of the professors in Edwin something, I've forgotten his name. He's a professor of climatology in University of Reading. So this is Nigerian temperature change since 1896. If you see, you will see that Nigerian, we've lived in Nigeria. Those people that lived in Nigeria before 1900, they live in a situation where our weather is similar to the abroad weather, in the sense that it is cold, not too hot, But moving down, as we are evolving, we are developing economic activities, industrial revolution. I mean, after the advent of oil, you will see that from 1917 era till you can see that. So the darker the blue color means the colder it is, and the darker the red color, the hotter it is. And you can see from between 1990, let's say the early 2000s, Nigerian has been experiencing high temperature. Why? Because of deforestation, because of Sahara deserts, because of lack of planning, so to say, from our leaders, because they are not putting measures in place. How many streets have trees on their street? How many areas do we see trees? What we are seeing every day is cutting down of trees, buying land to build houses, and so all these things are contributing. You can see now. This is the global view of Nigeria. What happened to different states? This is Abuja's own. You can see as people are rushing to Abuja, the place is getting hotter day by day. No shell, no. So then you look at, this is Warri, for instance, between 1986 and 2009. It's similar, and you can even see Warri is even deeper than the likes of Abuja. Well, maybe because of oil exploration going on in this area, and you can see this is Kaduna. Kaduna is not as hot as other places. Even the Kaduna is in the north, but compared to what we saw in Warri to what we have in Kaduna. Now, a place like Ibadan, well, where we can say because Ibadan has been a densely populated city over time, economic, political capital of the Old Western region, has a lot of economic activities and stuff, is also experiencing it. So we have Enugu, which is the last one that I'm going to show. And you can see from every region that you guys are from, you can see that there is no place that is spare of from this hazard, which we need to act now, and we need to find a way to combat this narrative. So moving away from the Nigerian story, then move to what are the key impacts of this climate change on our specific sector. So I've identified 4 sectors: agriculture, health, is a 4 or 3, agriculture, health, and water, that I'm going to just tell us what is the impact. So climate change impact on agriculture. Number 1, desertification of arable land. Our arable land has been cut down. Instead of us to plant, now all the people buying estates, we are selling estates, they are taking over the farmland. So the plants that are supposed to be growing in those areas are gone. So no chlorophyll to trap the CO2 we have in the atmosphere again, because all of them are building. And most of the buildings that they are constructing are not sustainable. They are not environmentally friendly because they are not putting sustainability into plan when they are constructing some of these buildings. So we are experiencing the certification of arable land, followed by crop failure, which has reduced yield. Climate change is affecting crop failure because of temperature, increase in temperature. Many of our crops are not drought resistant. So only few, maybe the most common one is cassava, that whether there is flood, whether there is drought, cassava will withstand all this pressure. But you talk of perishable crops. If you don't, even watermelon, as watermelon as big it is, if watermelon should suffer from lack of water supply for just one day, man, if you don't harvest it, your business is gone. So this is part of what we are experiencing. The saltwater intrusion in the coastal production is also affecting the fishery, people in the fishery industry, because when the water level rises, it flows into other places, bringing acidity, increasing the acidity, increasing the salinity of the water bodies, and which is also affecting the production. Climate change is affecting because of the rainfall pattern that is changing, is also affecting farmers' decision to produce food, and as a result, we're having shortage in food supply. And when there's shortage in food supply, the limited food that is available will need to be shared among people. And when that happens, that is when you see rise in prices. And when prices goes up, what happens to our pockets? We need to take more money to buy this one, and our income is not growing, so we are stuck there. So this is also how climate change is impacting agriculture and directly impacting and indirectly impacting our pockets. And lastly, is the advanced, Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert. So when you study climate change from the northern pole and the southern pole, most climate change issues in the northern pole, where we are for instance, I'm in the UK now, is usually led because of the freezing of the glacial slates, all this iceberg and all those stuff that is defrozing, that's usually increase the water body. But our own down south is most likely because of the Sahara Desert, because of the wind blowing the sand and all those stuff and increasing the temperature that we are experiencing. So this is just a summary of how climate change is impacting our cultural sector. Then let's move to water. Now, despite the enormous water potential that Nigeria have, water used for agriculture, industry, and domestic consumption in the country has been largely underdeveloped. And this is due to huge investment that is required to develop and manage our water infrastructure. The water quality that we're experiencing, a lot of people, because of increase in temperature, we need to take in more water in order to stay hydrated. But unfortunately, as the temperature is increasing, the land is getting drier, where the table water is also going down. Then people start producing water that is not suitable for us to drink. But what can we do? That is where the government needs to come in to regulate. Also, climate extreme events such as flood and droughts will have a direct consequence on the availability and water use. Increased flood risk. Lagos, once rainfall, everybody living in the eyebrow area, Lekki, everybody, they will need to start using canoe to go to wherever they want to go. Because of what? Because of flooding. So we are prone to this to happen, and once flood happens, it will also have impact on the nearest water bodies in terms of the rivers and all those stuff, because there will be debris that will be carried from the street, chemicals, gutter, sewage that will be moved into the water bodies, the bigger water bodies, which definitely affect the aquatic life. It also affects the saline intrusion of the coastal aquifer. So it's causing disturbance in the ecosystem of water that we have in our ocean. Now, to energy sector, how is climate change affecting the energy sector? Damage to our infrastructure. We know that bulk of our electricity in Nigeria is through hydro. And you see, when we are in the dry season, we usually have epileptic power supply because the dams are down, the water level in the dams will go down and stuff like that. So it's affecting us, thereby reducing the hydropower production, and it's also increased overall energy demand of the people. And but should we say this is a cause or a blessing? Because when we have temperature increase, that means that we can diversify to alternative energy sources, which is left for those people in charge to take decision. Um, I think, can I get a feedback? Am I too fast or too slow? Or are people following me? Please, can you send message on the group so that I will know that at least I'm communicating with people. I'm not just jumping and okay, all right. Thank you so much. And I hope you are finding it useful because I spent over 20 minutes. Wow. So now let me move to um health. Yes, health. Health is the last sector. Increased heat-related mortality. A lot of people have died. A lot. It's because we might not be aware of this because we don't usually record our deaths. When it happens, we don't need a death certificate before you bury someone. A lot of complications has happened in the hospital that is as a result of death, heat. It is the temperature that is rising is making a lot of people to faint, and as a result from there they go into coma and die. And it also affects our food quality. Food security is threatened, which once our food security is strengthened, we'll not have access to nutritious food. And when we don't have access to nutritious food, our body will not be able to utilize the essential nutrients. And as a result, we'll fall sick, then we'll go to hospital. Some people will be treated and some will die. And if you look at air pollution, temperature, climate change is also affecting air pollution because of anthropogenic reasons, people, industries, and other stuff that they are emitting CO2 into the atmosphere. And before you get there, a lot of us we inhale a lot. So these are the areas. But how is climate change policy responding to these issues? Number one, so the Nigerian National Climate Change uh, promotes efficient gender response, social inclusive, and climate smart agricultural production. So these are some of the things that they are trying to knowledge development and key uh, management to connect the key stakeholders. They also tend to develop and apply improved production um, and to de-risk the agricultural sector generally by also increasing the uptake of an adaptation measure of farm and community at community levels. The policy is also trying to strengthen the indigenous knowledge-based adaptation measures that we can be used and to facilitate enable environment for enhanced public debate and private sector participation. So this is the areas that we also as CSO that we can come in and participate and see if for the CSOs in the area of agriculture, these are places that you can also come in. You work together with the government to develop workable adaptation policies and you see through it, and also to include finance through economic value. Use to strengthen the river basin agencies. We have Ogun River Basin Authority. We have Niger River Basin Authorities in Ilorin, and so on like that. So they need to strengthen these people so that they can also provide water to people. They are also promoting investment in the sector through the enhanced public and private sector. Once again, this is another opportunity for to come in and to develop and to deploy a renewable energy source for water infrastructure. The energy response, I mean, the response to energy to develop a climate-proof the energy sector reliance to invest in protective energy infrastructure in order to reduce loss and damage, to promote decentralized energy system, to increase resilience, and to improve the access to energy, improve to energy efficiency, water efficiency, and to have early warning system, which is very key. You know, having early warning system. There's an idea that when there's going to be a war and you are disabled, once you hear that there's that information, there's a war coming, you quickly move on time before the war will even catch you. So it's when we have early warning system in everything we do, we'll be able to plan well and know, okay, this is when we need to leave and we need to move. So, but regarding health, they are also having a plan. So plan for health is to strengthen the existing adaptation strategy, strengthen surveillance program for monitoring human health under changing climates, to promote climate resilient infrastructure and maintain health in all sectors, promote policies that will retain qualified personnel. This is one of the problems that we are experiencing today. As we are battling with climate change related issues that is affecting our health, we are now having shortage in personnel. A lot of people, many people have jackpot, moved to another countries to trade in their professional skill for money. So this is another challenge that the government, the CSOs, we need to work with the government to see how we can ensure that people are retained in the system, whether it needs to boost their morale in order to support them. Then promote preparedness in all areas of primary healthcare delivery in response to climate-induced diseases and pandemics. So now, having said all this, do we have commitment with global world? Yes, we do. What are those commitments? Some of the commitments we have with global world is, number one, the nationally determined contribution, which aim to reduce emission by 20% unconditionally and 45% with international support. This national determinant, I will still talk about it at length, is coming from the Paris Agreement, the co-op, all the co-ops that we know, which is driven from the Paris Agreement. So we also have we are also participating, of course, in the UN FCCC convention. So they usually have this, and please note that there is difference between UNFCCC and IPCC. IPCC is a group of scientists using different models to tell us what is going to be the climate change, predicting climate and its impact in future, while UNFCCC is a group of politicians, let me say, because they are country leaders coming together. So there are two different bodies, IPCC and UFCC. UFCC is more of scientists. IPCC is more about negotiation, diplomacy, so in solving climate change issues. Nigeria is also a signatory to the African Union Agenda 2063 and the SDG goals. Some of these are also, they have climate priorities in those agreements, and we have. So let's talk about the Nigerian national climate policies. We have, there are many, but because of time, I was only able to take three, which I'm going to speak about. The National Policy on Climate Change, NPCC. We have the National Plan on Gender and Climate Change, and we have the Nationally Determined Contribution. I've said this earlier. The first one, the NPCC outlines our framework as a country on how to mitigate or to address climate change issues. The NAPGCC is talking about the integration of gender into the climate solution. And so I'll take it one after the other and tell us what they are trying to do. So for the national policy on climate change, the first draft, this is a strategy document that Nigeria is using to address climate change by 2025. The first one is to reduce greenhouse gas emission by 20% below as business as usual by 2030. And the second one here, which is strengthening adaptation, to strengthen the company and the country's ability to adapt to climate change. And also number three is to increase public awareness of climate change and involve the private sector in addressing this issue. The number four is to strengthen national institutions and the mechanism to establish a framework for climate change governance. This number three and number four, I think, is one of the things where we need to be active as CSOs and other key players in this industry. The last one is to promote a low carbon, high economic growth development path for Nigeria. So this is the objective of the strategy, the national policy climate change that that I can share the link to some of these documents so that we can read more about it. Now, the climate change national action for plan for climate for gender and climate change. Number one is to increase understanding of climate change impact among women, youth, and vulnerable groups. Promotes the mainstream gender in all policies, programs, and processes of climate change. To advocate integration of gender concerns and gender responsive innovative approaches, and lastly, to increase the participation of vulnerable groups, especially women, youths, persons with disabilities in climate change policies. And this, again, the objective is more than this. They also want to promote the implementation of gender responsive adaptation mitigation. They want to establish gender responsive monitoring and evaluation system. It also promotes, if my memory serves me right, to mobilize climate finance and strengthen the capacity of the Department of Climate Change in order to address the gender issues. So we have a lot to play with. I mean,